Another surrender and another U-turn. Yes, this Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is completely breaking his pledges that he made during the Tory leadership election. Everything that he was going to be doing within 100 days, especially when it comes to the border crisis. We're going to talk about the migration crisis in this country. But when we talk about this, the media, who've been ignoring this for years, over the last couple of years, they've been focusing on it because of a lot of pressure from the new media, from people like Nigel Farage and a lot of local activists like Active Patriot and many others in Dover and in Kent. But the problem is, now they're only talking about the small boats. When we say migrant crisis, we're talking about mass migration. That includes legal and illegal. That includes so-called asylum seekers and economic migration, because the numbers are out of control. There's no vetting. And this is the whole problem. It's a massive backlog as well. But this Prime Minister promised us that it's going to be stopping the boats at least. Well, we've just discovered last night that he's decided to concede defeat. He's now admitting that it can't be done by the next election. I thought it was supposed to be done within 100 days, Rishi. What happened there? Did you make another empty promise, or were you not really intending to do anything about it? Or were you just desperate to get elected and you thought that would be the best idea? So, Rishi Sunak, his first 100 days, has he met his promises to steady the UK ship? Well, in this article, there's a number of points, all the pledges, but I'm going to be focusing on this one. Immigration. His pledge was to cut immigration across the English Channel by putting pressure on France and tightening the asylum laws. So the pressure on France didn't work. We just gave them more money in February, again, £500 million. Tightening asylum laws, I'm not really sure what's happening there. Progress. Sunak came to office during a record-breaking year for illegal migration. Okay, yeah, he could say that, oh, it wasn't my fault, someone else started it, even though he was already Chancellor of the government that did it. But he's had enough time now. It's been a while since he's been Prime Minister. We've gone way past that 100-day target that he set for himself. So I don't think he can blame the previous governments anymore. But the small boats obviously brought in a lot of people, almost 50,000 people in 2022. But at the same time, one of the main issues we have is that politicians could say a lot of things, and they're going to do the same thing in their manifestos at the next election, both Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak, and there will be a lot of people who are still going to give him another chance. Because they just feel, what else can we do? People still are not ready, at least until now, they haven't been ready to consider alternative parties. Maybe this election could send a signal, but I'm not really that optimistic. Yes, there could be a lot of people this time voting for Reform UK, absolutely. And maybe some other left-wing alternative party, I don't know. There's so many of them. But I don't really think that there will be a lot of people in the country who will be able to take that risk yet, mainly because the alternative parties are not getting the same level of airtime and platform by the establishment and the lamestream media. So there will be a lot of people in the country who are not political. They might not have even heard of the name Reform UK, for example, or Reclaim. See, this is the issue. So it's a bit of a slow burner, but doesn't mean we have to give up when it comes to alternative parties. So Rishi Sunak now admits that he may not be able to stop the channel migrants by the next election, which they think they're quite smart, because they think that what they're going to do, they're going to hope that the numbers will come down a little bit, the rate, so they could go to the next election and put in their manifesto saying there is still a problem in this country, there's a crisis, we're on the right track, but because there's still a crisis, as you guys know, the general public, you cannot trust the Labour Party. You can only trust the Conservatives to fix problems. That's what they're going to say, because that's what they've always done. People usually elected, the so-called Conservative governments in the past when there is still a problem in the country. When things are happy, they go with Labour, like 1997, Tony Blair, and when they have a budget surplus and everything else. So they think they can gamble on that, but I don't think this is going to work, because the political spectrum is completely messed up now. Things have gone completely different. It's no longer about socialists versus conservatives, left versus right. That theory might not work this time, that gamble. So, the Prime Minister said yesterday that he wanted to be honest with people, that it is a complex problem. When he was asked if he would be able to solve the migrant crisis before the next election, he said, "The current system is both unsustainable and is completely unfair, but particularly unfair on British taxpayers who are forking out millions of pounds to house illegal migrants in hotels and local communities." I want it to be done as soon as possible, but I also want to be honest with people that this is complex. There is not one simple solution, and it can't be solved overnight. And I wouldn't be being straight with people if I said that it was possible. Firstly, he's complaining about the situation as if he's like a normal taxpayer and electorate and a voter. You are literally Prime Minister. You have the power to do it. Secondly, he says, well, these are complex issues. You can't really solve them quickly. Then why did you promise to do it within 100 days? So I'm not saying there's a simple solution to fix, a problem to fix, but you were the one. You gave out an empty promise again. But this is the asylum backlog. The latest numbers that you can see is so depressing when you look at these numbers. The dark blue color is the people who've been waiting 6 months or less. The brighter blue one is more than 6 months. And the orange, well, yellow one is awaiting further review. So that's also going up a little bit compared to 2022 and 2021. But it's not looking good. The brighter blue one, more than 6 months, is increasing rapidly. Yet there doesn't seem to be any urgency from the Home Office, because we already talked about the Home Office yesterday on this channel. There are 3 wings who are currently battling with each other, and there were a lot of people saying, oh, how did you find out, Mahyar? Well, it was kind of obvious because they briefed the papers. and we talked to our sources as well in Whitehall. This is how we get our stories. We have to make sure it's fact-checked rather than just spreading out lies or rumors. But one of the main concerns that we currently have is if Rishi, Tice and Reform UK, for example, could actually get ahead. Because the concern is they might not even get the attention. But Rishi Tice is still trying his best. He said, Rishi Sunak admits that he will not stop the boats pre-election. Migrants will cost billions for years. Only Reform UK will stop the boats with our 6-point plan. And they keep repeating the same thing every day, every week, every month to get some sort of attention in the media. But apart from GB News and Talk TV, those are the only corporate media outlets that are giving them some sort of airtime. The rest of them, not really. I mean, let's just see what the BBC, Sky and ITV and Channel 4 are going to be doing when it comes to the next election's leadership debates on TV. Are they going to be inviting Rishi Tice or not? That's interesting. Now, let's go to some of the comments on this channel over the last few days on this issue. We have this one saying, when Rishi was touting to be Prime Minister, he gave an interview that he would stop the boats by changing the definition of asylum seeker. Whatever happened to that promise? Surely if you classified everyone coming here illegally as officially economic migrants and were therefore put in jail because they are illegal, this would all stop overnight. So this was actually mentioned by Rishi Sunak's team at the time. Whether it is correct or not, whether they can do it or not, that's different. But they did say it. Why did they say it? If it's true that you can do that, why didn't you do it? If it's not true, why did you make that promise? So that was a very good question. Let's go to Simon, who said a few days ago, Rishi Sunak says, can we talk about the migrants? There's too many. The European Union says, sit down and shut up. Rishi says, yes, sorry. The EU says, we give the orders here, or have you forgotten? To be fair, that actually relates to what happened recently when he went to, was it Iceland? I believe it was Iceland. He flew to Iceland to have a meeting with the EU judges, or Finland, one of them, and they kicked him out. They said, no, we're not going to talk about this. He was trying to get the ECHR to cave in, essentially, and the EU judges said, no, we don't want to talk about this in this meeting. Let's talk about something else. Yeah. Let's go to the next comment that we have on the channel. This one said that Rishi Sunak is all talk, completely useless. He's wasting our British taxpayers' money and resources. Go spend his wife or his own money on those illegal migrants if he wants them to come. It is all talk, to be fair. There's literally no action right now from these guys Downing Street. They have lost completely all energy, all objectives, and anything that they had, discipline that they had before in this so-called Tory government. But yeah, that's where we are. Philip Wood said, how will Rishi's cashless digital currency work with so many illegal migrants with no ID? That's a good question. It reminds us of what was happening during the lockdown. So during the lockdown and just post-lockdown, we had all these public health measures for British citizens, including wearing face nappies and having been tested regularly and having your jabs done. But illegal migrants were coming in every day and they weren't being checked, and there were no urgency to tell them to even wear a face nappy. So it's the same thing right now. Unless they're going to go completely authoritarian, 1984 style, and force everybody to have an ID, for example, then that means they're going to have to inject every single illegal migrant who comes in with some sort of chip, microchip, immediately, or some sort of tag. Otherwise, you can't do that, because the process for giving someone a personal ID, a digital ID, requires a lot of bureaucratic work. Checking your address, your national insurance, your details, your NHS number, and everything else you have. And if people who are just coming into the country, they don't have those, they're going to have to wait weeks and months for that digital ID to get ready, right? So what's going to happen to them during that time? Are they just going to go around, do whatever they want? See, if you're going to go authoritarian, go full on Mao. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.